Today, for our TBR FinTech edition, I'm excited to interview Mike and Lior, founders of Connect CPA. Our topic today is two tech founders who reimagine an archaic accounting and finance industry. This is Naren, your host. Today, I'm extremely excited because I have two people who I have a lot of respect for. Two tech founders who reimagined an archaic accounting and finance industry. Looking back, when I first met them in 2016, I never really thought they would be sitting here with me today and doing this podcast, because they were doing something that most people with any common sense would have said, no, you can't do it. Why? Because things were done a certain way for such a long time. So today I have Mike Pinkus with me. Mike is a co-founder of Connect CPA. And I also have Lior Zehtser with me. Lior is also a co-founder of Connect CPA. Welcome, Mike, and welcome, Lior.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Before we jump in, I really want to focus today's episode on your story and your journey, because everyone listening is a founder of a tech company, and most of us disrupt something. Most of us find an industry, find a situation where things are done a certain way and we don't like it, and we go and change it. And we go through fire, we break through walls, and then somehow some of us come to the other side. And Mike and Lior are two such people who have, done that, paid the price, have all the burns and the scars to show for. And today they are sitting with me 6 years later. So how would you describe, in my mind, Connect CPA is the largest, or if not one of the largest, cloud accounting and finance companies in Canada, and soon to be one of the leading cloud accounting and finance company in all of North America. How would you guys describe, Connect CPA?
I guess I'll kick it off, Naren.
Yes.
We're an external finance and accounting solution for scaling businesses. And the main pain point we embarked on solving was accounting and finance is a non-core competency to so many founders, yet it's the pulse of the business. It's literally all decision-making within an organization is centered on some data point around the finance function. And we wanted to make it in real time, more accessible, and we wanted to integrate technology to help lead to more real-time information to make those decisions. And we've been working on that for the last decade.
Absolutely. The way I look at it, I'm a client of yours. I still remember the very first time I met Mike. He came to my house. He's like in this partnership, they are co-founders and they run the business together. The way I see Mike is he's the front man. He's the charming, visionary person.
I wouldn't say that.
You look charming. You agree? He's probably like a heartthrob, but anyways, I don't know what your high school life was like.
Yeah, that's a good question. Don't tell my wife.
Yeah,
dated a little bit.
And then Lior is the technical, detail-oriented systems person who's always thinking about, like, how can we make the function of accounting and finance better? Like, how do we, provide real-time data? How do we make our lives easier? How do we make our clients' life easier? And then more importantly, how do we do it consistently? So it's not like, oh, we do it great today and then tomorrow we are back to square one. No. Today is going to be, less impressive than tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be today plus more innovations, more looking for, better ways of doing things. So that's Mike and that's Lior. And the way I look at Connect CPA is it's like an external finance function, right? I run my business. I'm a marketing company, and I have to really, really, really dig deep and become extremely good at marketing. I don't have the time nor the energy and in hiring someone and making sure this person knows what they're doing, because I don't know anything about finance. I don't know anything about accounting. By the way, Mike and Lior are CPAs. So definitely they are qualified, they're certified, they know everything. And I'll get into their background in a little bit, but so that's kind of the way I look at it. Is that a good way to think about your company, like an external finance function, Lior?
Yeah, 100%. We're problem solvers, and that's really part of just what we do on a daily basis, external finance department for scaling companies.
Yeah, now let's talk about the fun stuff, right? I mean, we're all tech entrepreneurs. We all want to know about the journey. So, Leo, you mentioned not too long ago when we had dinner one day about this dinner you and Mike had. Of course, you didn't have a lot of money back then. You guys were young, hungry, people who wanted to do something differently. And you and Mike met at a Boston Pizza, if I'm not mistaken. And Mike shared a story with you. So maybe Mike, you should tell us the story. Like you were running something tech business back then. What was that? Oh,
Yeah,
you're trying to at least.
So yeah, Lior and I met in university before we started our careers, and we ended up working at Pricewaterhouse together all the way back in 2007. And right before we started Connect CPA, and it's been 10 years now. The story that I think that you're alluding to is we went for a drink at Boston Pizza. At the time, I was trying to start a tech company, nothing to do with accounting. I had this novel idea, and maybe it's because I had fallen in love. I was about to get married. It was 2014, which is the year I actually did get married. And I had this idea that we would connect vendors in different areas using APIs to allow you to book a venue with all these different vendors, get them all together, make a deposit, schedule it in, because weddings are a big expenditure for a family, and brides love to lock in the date. I mean, it's so important to get everybody connected on one day. And so I was working on this tech company, and at the time, Lior was out on his own working in the accounting space. And that's kind of what led to the genesis of Connect CPA, because it was actually Lior who had discovered something called cloud accounting, or the coined term cloud accounting. And it piqued my interest through that beer that we had at Boston Pizza, and things kind of went from there.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I was on
Go
my
ahead.
own, and I was frustrated with just we were talking about earlier, but just the archaic way of accounting. And through a colleague of mine, I heard about cloud accounting, and it wasn't happening. It wasn't present in Canada at all. It was actually happening in Australia and New Zealand. And I was pitching Mike on this whole story, and that's kind of what this Boston Pizza meeting was all about. Just kind of talking to him about what I heard about, and how it's a subscription model, and how it's completely different than anything that's being done in Canada at the moment. And kind of we went on from we kept meeting afterwards from that, but that was kind of the initial kind of seed that was planted.
That's amazing. I still remember this. Mike was introduced to me through somebody else. And by the way, I run a virtual company. As you know, we have 250 people. And Mike and Leo run a virtual company, and they've done that from day one. So he was kind enough to come to my house, because I guess I was one of the first people who was like, okay, let's try this, right? And I was really frustrated with my accounting and finance. Typically, I'll describe what my world looked like. I would have all these stacks of papers, which are receipts, and then I would dump it, take it and put it into a box, literally, and go and give it to my accountant. And then I would call the accountant like every day, every week. Oh, its deadline is coming up. And then magically, like 10 minutes before the deadline, oh, it's all ready. I have no idea if it's right or wrong. And then I sign it, and then it goes out. Then we repeat it the next year. And then usually there's turnover. And so you not only have to be nice to the owner of the business, the accounting firm, but you also have to be nice to the person who's working on your file. And, it's just so frustrating. So it's almost like, like, I don't know, like CRA or IRS is on the other side, and they are the big bad thing. And then these people are like the gatekeepers, so you need them to protect you from that big bad thing. But trust me, none of us are doing anything wrong. We are paying our taxes, we are doing everything properly. But just because the way the accounting function was happening, archaic, it was really frustrating. And then Mike comes in, he was charming as always, and I'm like, yep, let's do it. And then I start talking to Leo, and he didn't ask me about accounting, he didn't ask me about anything. He just said, what banks are you guys banking with? What tech do you use? It was all tech. It was like literally they spent the first month or two integrating all our systems. So they're pulling data from our bank feeds. They start saying, no, I don't want you to give me boxes at the end of the month, because I'm not going to come and pick it up. But here is a tool. I think at that time it was called Receipt Bank, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And here is a tool, because you're a client, you guys get access to it. I will have an account for you, account for your spouse, because at that time we were the only two ones, who were, spending all the money and stuff. And here it is. It's all set up for you. And then slowly but surely, they started building this process, this system-enabled approach. And I give Lior all the credit, and of course, the entire Connect CPA team in putting together. So all of a sudden, every week, every month, we had data. We could literally look at our numbers every month. Oh, our revenues are up, but our expenses are higher even more. What's going on? So now all of a sudden, it becomes super easy. And the other thing is, there was no computer sitting somewhere with some data. It's all in the cloud. It's all, so I could be on vacation and I want to look at my numbers, I can look at it. So Lior, can you talk a little bit about, how you think about, because see, the way I think of your company, you are a tech-enabled service. So you have this industry that has been working a certain way, right? You pay accountants on an hourly basis, and because they know something you don't, and it's so everyone is the same way, meaning they're not innovating, they're not really understanding the customer. You're just stuck, and then you guys come in like two bulldogs in a china shop, and you're like, you're going to change it, and you got inspiration from some people in Australia to start doing this. So talk about, how do you think about accounting and finance? I mean, like, how did you imagine it? Like, I know you said you had that Boston Pizza conversation about, your first conversation with Mike.
Yeah, it started with a more simple idea, was just, let's bring clients that work in legacy desktop software to cloud-based solutions. That it started with that. We're not even going to do the bookkeeping, let them do the bookkeeping, but at least let's move them to cloud-based tools and apps so they have more information. They can access their information readily from anywhere, like you mentioned. And so it started with that. And then over the years, we pivoted and we've evolved to becoming more of an external finance department where we're solving problems, because every company, although there's problems that are commonplace, there are still unique situations. And so we've grown to a place where we're trying to solve problems on a daily basis using a lot of tech tools. So we'll stitch together various apps with APIs to streamline a company's finance functions. So they're not thinking about how to get information, but they know exactly where the information is coming from, and it's readily accessible.
Right. Mike, so I just wanted to ask you, when you first started versus along the way and versus today, how has your vision of what is possible in the space evolved? I mean, you are the visionary. You are the one who's just, imagining the company the way it should be, a few years from now. So how has your thinking evolved?
Well, a lot of it, like to Lior's point, Naren, I think like you hit the nail on the head, is when we got started, you had an industry which was strictly based on being a compliance officer. What did that mean? You had to get a government filing done with CRA or IRS. That was it. But it all happened, like you said, at the last minute, like with no time on the clock. But what happened month to month? There was no data. And so from 2014 up to 2017, as Lior mentioned, I call the first stage of innovation was bringing the desktop to the cloud. And we were one of the pioneers in North America doing that. From 2017 up to about 2020, it became, how do we help enhance financial visibility to a business owner, meaning all decision-making is guided from the finance function, which is the pulse of the business. And in order to do that, we started to work with larger and larger businesses and more scaled out entities or faster growing entities, which meant we had to evolve to come up with solutions to figure out how to report to different stakeholders and third parties while leveraging technology. So Naren, a venture-backed company is going to have a different reporting requirement than a PE-backed company versus a bootstrap company versus a company that's growing at 10% versus a company that's doubling in revenue every single year. And we knew that because we were so in front of the curve on the technology front in terms of building out automation and process, that we would always cater towards those faster growing companies because they are the ones who experience more pain, both in decision-making and the finance function. Where I see things now is you're now seeing crazy things happening with AI and ChatGPT, and you're seeing all these new technologies that are springing up that are evolving at a rapid pace. we want to lean into those even further, because right now we were the first ones to implement APIs and put these tech stack solutions together. But then we started developing our own proprietary tech as well back in 2017-18 that we integrate with these other tools. And now as we go to the future, we're looking at AI and other tools to go, how can we be faster and how can we get greater data insights to make better decisions within the business? And that's what our focus is from this point going forward.
Makes sense. Now I signed up because, at that time, because I felt you guys are a tech company, meaning what's common about tech companies? Usually we all data driven. Most of us have a subscription-based revenue model because it's easy. You don't have to think about it. We all believe in like making tomorrow better than today. So in other words, like Google changes its algorithm 3,000 times a year, 8 times a day, because they believe that they still can improve and at a very rapid pace. And that's kind of in our DNA, right? We always are innovating, changing, evolving, like the way we used to do things yesterday is no different. And today, I know I'm one of your clients. I'm a SaaS company, and you have tons and tons and tons of SaaS tech companies as your clients. You have tons and tons and tons of e-commerce companies as your clients. I think those are your two big markets, correct, Mike?
Yeah, I would say so. Like companies that also like us lean into technology and evolution happen to be a good subset of what we do. Although we do help customers across many segments, but technology and e-com has unique attributes that we can really add a tremendous amount of value to.
Absolutely. So I think as human beings, we tend to do business with people who think a similar way, who work a similar way, who have certain mindsets. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons that a lot of tech entrepreneurs gravitate towards you. And I know some of your clients, I know you may not you mentioned this, but like who's who in e-commerce, who's who in SaaS. I mean, these are like companies worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Can you talk a little bit about some of the examples or stories of some of your clients? I don't know if you want to mention names or not, but I'm sure some are public knowledge because it's on your website. So go ahead, maybe either of you.
Sure. There's so many examples of customers that are just incredible to work with, and I'll bring up an e-commerce company as an example, because one of the key senior executives within the company that we work with, Michael, is just amazing to deal with and is incredibly sharp, and funny enough is also a CPA. So Michael from Whoosh, and Michael, if you end up listening to this, I'm going to give you a shout out here. Whoosh is one of those innovative, fast-growing e-com companies that has really taken the e-commerce world by storm. They're one of the fastest. They're one of the top e-com companies that you'll see on Amazon. So if anybody wants to look at Whoosh's product, they provide cleaning products for your Mac, for your monitors, for your iPhone, for your Android phone, and they're like one of the top Amazon sellers there is. And what's interesting is we help also sophisticated clients as well, meaning founders are becoming more and more knowledgeable, and they're becoming more sophisticated, meaning they're looking for providers that they already have the baseline. They're looking for the edge to move to the right. Back in the day, though, it was like no knowledge, like the pre-internet era, where an accounting firm was that once a year thing, you don't know anything, so you just have to trust your accountant. Today, someone can go into an AI tool or Google, they can learn the baseline really, really quickly themselves. And so going back to Whoosh, Michael's a CPA himself who helps run the operations at Whoosh. And what we've helped do is help with inventory, tech system setup, figuring out the metrics and the gross margin metrics, how to run an inventory management system and understand what those KPIs are at a SKU level as you grow. And it's probably better to, like, eventually maybe we'll get Michael and we'll have a conversation with him about this, but the KPIs that you need and the data points you need to manage do become increasingly complex at scale. Things are normally easy when things are really small, like at 100,000 revenue, 200,000 revenue. As businesses grow into the millions and they scale outwards and to the right, complexity arises. But the reason why I bring up that example is because the companies that we're helping are becoming more sophisticated. They might even have a CPA that's dealing directly with us, where they're looking for how they can produce an edge on the data points. And Whoosh is a great example of an amazing customer that we work with that's doing incredible things in e-com, where they have a sophisticated operator who is a CPA, and we're coming in to add our expertise in the e-com space over things like APIs, inventory management, profit per SKU, reorder points, all those things that e-com businesses have as challenges as they scale to the top of the list in Amazon, Shopify, and other backends.
Yeah, to Mike's point, we work also with a lot of SaaS companies who will hire us to do the back office, the tech, the bookkeeping, the AP, the payroll, but still have their own finance department with very sharp CPAs, non-CPAs working there, but they still hire us to handle their whole back office and tech component because we've kind of nailed down a lot of the processes related to recurring revenue, deferred revenue, Stripe, and other tech kind of tools are related to that.
Leo, let me ask you another question, Leo. I know everyone is talking about AI this and AI that, and there's all kinds of innovation happening in tech, right? Can you talk about some of the new types of technologies you guys are leaning into and really, really using to kind of take it to the next level?
We're trying to, we've been implementing we're trying to systemize our bookkeeping and make it as repeatable as possible. And so we're working on some proprietary tools where bookkeeping is kind of done hands off. We obviously understand the importance of bookkeepers, and bookkeepers will always, humans and bookkeepers will always be part of the process especially on our back office, because that's a lot of the pain points when it comes to scaling companies. But we're looking at using AI and other tools to really make repeatable tasks being managed on their own. And so that's what we're working on right now, just bookkeeping, AP, and bookkeeping and AP really, where bookkeeping is kind of done by itself. And then we have bookkeepers are reviewing the data instead of just manually entering the data.
Makes total sense. Mike, thank you so much for that awesome story that you shared. I'm a huge fan of Michael. Michael, who is the founder of LemonQ, and of course, you guys work with LemonQ, correct?
Yeah, we're a customer of theirs. Yeah, we actually use them for all of our PD with all of our CPAs on our team, and they have an incredible product. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I think one of the things I notice about many of your clients is that they grow, like some of them are growing 100%, 200%. So I bet that every year, right? Year after year after year. So that probably presents a whole lot of challenges, right? When it comes to, how you run your finance and accounting department, what kind of data do you need? How fast you need it? Can you talk more about that in terms of like, you have probably dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of clients who are growing really fast. Like, what are some unique challenges you see for companies who are growing that fast?
I would say one of the hardest things to achieve, and this is where having the expertise of being in the marketplace and being an evolving, and also being an evolving finance accounting outfit that we are, we've been able to lean into enhancing customer experience. And Naren, part of that, one of the challenges of the growth that you're mentioning is the quick closes, meaning within the last 5 years, it used to be, hey, we got a financial statement once a year for compliance, for the CRA, for IRS. And then it evolved to, hey, let's get some financial statement maybe once a quarter. And then it became monthly. But then it became, hey, we're VC backed. We need it within 3 days of month end. That level of speed cannot be achieved without really, really built out process, because it does start with process. Like, technology aside, you need to have the learnings over a long period of time with the right team to execute on the process to be able to provide quick closes with real-time accurate information within a short window of time. And you're not dealing with stakeholders always that are just founder-led, where it might be bootstrapped, you make a mistake and it's okay. Financial statements could be going out to a board, to a bank, to a venture firm. And as the accountability rises and the speed increases and the window of time shortens, the implications go higher and higher and higher. And that's the reason why, from our perspective, we've had to do a lot of strategic things. We've had to raise money. We've had to build a really defined leadership team. We've had to build out a tech onboarding and data team. We've had to take divergent views from a traditional accounting finance firm in order to be innovative and solve these problems that were not achievable 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And it's a different way of thinking, because these businesses, they don't pause, similar to their products where they iterate the feature sets every week to find out customer feedback. We've had to do the same thing. We have to ask our customers what's working, what's not working, but we also have to build the style of business that we're operating to their style of operations. And they're not willing to wait. Like our customer base needs things right away and in a certain way, and we've had to adapt to that.
That's amazing. Now let's kind of switch gears. I want to get back into, you guys are all metrics driven, and I know every person listening to this is metrics driven. For your business, what are some of the metrics you focus on? I know we all know net retention and this and that. So talk, maybe, I don't know how much of the specific information you want to share because it's a private company, but just give us some of the things that you do to make your business succeed.
I think at the forefront, Mike mentioned earlier the word client experience, and I think that's something that in an archaic industry, in a finance archaic industry, they don't really think about that. Compliance is number one, and yes, the customer is important, but let's do the compliance piece. For us, client experience is like the be all and end all, because we know everything is a domino effect from that. And so you mentioned NPS, and so Net Promoter Score. That's a big one for us. We'll for all our clients, we'll send surveys. We want to know how we're doing, want to know where we can improve. We have a customer success team, customer support team, and so that's a huge metric for us and really important for us to see, because we're not perfect. And so we know that we're always evolving, we're trying to get better. And so that's a huge metric for us. And of course, the other ones that other companies look at, like MRR and lifetime value of a client, are super important to us too. But I think NPS really trumps everything for us.
Anything you want to add, Mike?
I think Lior's spot on. The financial metrics like net revenue retention, growth rate, gross margin, the typical financial metrics that a company would monitor, we have a pulse on them. But for us, whether we're succeeding or failing comes down to how do our customers actually feel about us. And it's also having the humility to realize when you're not up to par. Like we get kicked in the teeth. Like we're not perfect, we're in service. And what's interesting about service is you have to have an incredible culture, because your team is everything. And the bar we set for who we bring onto the team is very, very high. And we have an incredible team. And obviously we're biased to say that, but we do have an incredible team. And but unlike a tech product where it's very binary, meaning you either have the code accurate or it's wrong, meaning it's going to go for quality control. Your code's either right or wrong, but you know the machine is going to operate perfectly time in, time out. When you're tech and people combined together, the people element is variable. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have personality and emotions brought into the equation, and you're human. And we lean into the fact that we're human, because you're not going to have your most intimate financial and accounting details tied into a relationship with a bot. It has to be a combination of human and technology. But with that poses scaling challenges and other things as well. But to Lior's point, because you know you're going to be making mistakes, you know that you're never going to be absolutely perfect, it's having the humility to look at those net promoter scores, have customer interviews and meetings. And those are the metrics that matter the most to us, is understanding, are we delivering the experience we would want, or are we not? And I actually conclude on the one topic. I know it's long-winded, but Naren, Airbnb, Brian, it's Brian Chesky.
Yes,
you always have
Brian
Chesky.
Chesky.
Brian Chesky, CEO of Airbnb. I've heard this on many podcasts that he talks about how they go through a level 0 to level 10 experience with how they define what they're doing in their team. And the way they go about doing that, I'll just give basic examples. This isn't meant to be accurate, but imagine a level 5 experience with Airbnb is you show up at a destination and the key works in the door, but the place is dirty. It hasn't been cleaned. A level 7 experience is you show up at your destination and everything is clean, everything's on time, and it's what you expected. A level 8 experience is maybe there's restaurant reservations for Texas or California, wherever you're going towards. And then they say like a level 11 experience is Elon Musk shows up with a rocket, takes you to Mars and brings you back. The whole point about that is the way we define culturally to our team, the experience that we give to our customers is we know we can't hit that level 11, but we don't want to be a level 7 where it's just what you expect. We have to be to the right of that. And it's just our way of thinking, and our one of our core values is above and beyond. And when you think of above and beyond, what does above and beyond mean? Is it going in a rocket ship and going above the earth? Is it going that extra mile, thinking of the athlete that pushes a little bit further? But it's a core value of what we stand for as a company. And every time we bring someone onto our team, Naren, we walk them through these core values from Lior and I. Like it's not someone else on the team. It's a founder meeting with every single new person that joins Connect CPA. We go through the core values, and above and beyond one of those core values to explain what would you want as a customer? Put yourself in their shoes and try to give them that experience. But Airbnb explains it better than we do, and we try to emulate that in our business to some extent.
Thank you, Mike. The title of today's episode is Two Tech Founders Who Reimagined an Archaic Accounting and Finance Industry. Of course, it's an industry, and for all of you, it's also a critical part of your success, your business. Now, I want to start kind of perhaps looking at the crystal ball. I know it's around a $1.2 trillion industry, just the accounting piece alone globally, and just in North America, it's $360 billion. We are sitting here and recording this in 2023, July. Still, the old firms are still doing the same thing the same way. It's hourly rate, it's no subscription, no tech enabled, no real-time data. It's so sad. I mean, it's pretty sad that things haven't changed. And of course, the prices have gone up even more after COVID. And, it's almost like getting somebody who has any qualification is like impossible, in 2023. So looking at where you are sitting, I know, you are frustrated, right? I mean, you started this going back to when you had that first meeting. Of course, like everybody else, you work for small firms, large firms, some one of the, big 5 firms, et cetera, et cetera. But then you're frustrated with just the way the industry worked and the impact it had on customers, the impact it had on employees. I still remember like friends who are accountants, during tax season, you will never see them. They're working 80, 90 hours, right? You guys let your people take Fridays off, during summertime. Everybody works from home. So it's not just good for the customer, but it's also good for team members. And so how do you see, like, imagine you can do everything you want to do. Like, let's fast forward 10 years from now. Lior and Mike are like, change the industry. I think you will. I mean, you're already like one of the largest and the leading, if not the number 1 cloud accounting firm in Canada, like definitely up there. What would amazing look like in your mind? Let's start, maybe I'll ask Mike, you first, from a customer standpoint, what would amazing accounting, like that level 11 experience look like for the customer? And then I'll get into for the employees, meaning the people who make all of this happen and so forth.
Yeah. So that's an incredible question. I'm going to make a few predictions by you asking that. The first prediction is I think desktop software will go the way of the BlackBerry. I think within 5 years, you're going to see virtually everyone in some form of cloud accounting platform. So that could be Xero, QBO, NetSuite. There's going to be a migration to the cloud that's going to happen almost all at once, meaning it's like adoption still, I think, relatively low in the first, even though cloud accounting's been around for a decade or more. But you're going to start to see the laggers catch up and everyone's going to adopt cloud. Looking forward, though, of like what's ahead. What I'm excited about is there's no doubt that the speed at which AI is developing is going to start making things easier to tackle from an information standpoint. Bookkeeping might be when I say fully automated, we're still quite a ways away from there because there's complexity involved and entries and different standards. But we're going to get very, very close, I think, within the next 5 years, where you could automate at least 80 to 90% of what's being done in bookkeeping, which raises what a bookkeeper's role is to more of a review capacity. And everyone's going to move up, I think, in terms of the human capital layer. Technology is going to take the things that people don't want to do and raise it up. But that level 11 experience to me is getting that real-time data daily. Like right now, we can produce, like, with a lot of effort, quick closes, monthly deliverables, where you're working on the financial back office day to day to day. But imagine a world where just every day you're real time, but I don't just mean real time on accounting, but all the elements that make the finance function work. That includes things like payroll, payables approvals, dealing with your receivables and your invoicing, following up with customers. There's a lot to make the back office work. It's very complex, but I think technology is going to bring you to a point where everyone moves up the layer, but only for those companies that accept that a technology evolution is happening and they lean into it. But at least that's the way I see it. I don't know about Lior, maybe has a different view than
no,
I do.
I totally agree. I think AI will play a significant role going forward as well. I think rather than logging into somewhere and running reports, you'll be able to talk to a system and say, what is my net income this year versus last year? Provide me these details. What's my expenses? What are my expenses? What's my revenue? Like, you'll just be able to call up data on the fly because it's just aggregating it in an AI protocol or component. And so I think it'll be a significant component going forward.
How do you think, we have all been through COVID, right? COVID changed a lot of things, especially when it comes to team members and, what they're looking for and what they want. Like, what's your pulse on, like, what do you need to do to retain good quality people today? And do you hire? I know you hire all over the country in every province. So, like, the person I work with, she's in, she's in Manitoba.
Yeah.
Yes, Manitoba. So, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you think? What's your crystal ball when it comes to team members and people who make all of this happen?
You mentioned COVID. I think COVID definitely reframed a lot of people's thinking, and the accounting industry gets a bad rap where there's tax season, there's billable hours, and it could be a grinding type of job. And I think COVID reframed not only employee mindsets but also employer mindsets. And I think we've already seen a shift of just work-life balance being super important. We're seeing big four firms offer time off and more holidays and things like that. We've always done that, to be honest with you. Mike and I came from so one thing that frustrated us when we were working in accounting was the lack of data and transparency and all that. But as employees ourselves, work-life balance was never good, and so we've always leaned towards having work-life balance for our team. I think we were on the forefront of that starting in 2015, 2016, going fully remote, giving lots of time off. And so, but I think now due to COVID, that definitely changed people's mindsets, especially employers' mindsets. And so work-life balance 100% is going to be a significant piece in having team members wanting to work at finance teams and accounting shops going forward.
Thank you. Before I close, I wanted to ask both of you for a favor. I know I'm putting you on the spot. Today, I really, really focused on, your story. Like, you are a tech-enabled company and all the challenges you're dealing with and what you have learned over the last 10 years, right? In this journey as two co-founders of an amazing company that's doing amazing things. What I would like to do is to bring you both back and talk specifically to SaaS founders and CEOs, as well as to e-commerce founders and CEOs. Really get into the nitty-gritty details of some of the things you are learning in those spaces. Like, one of the questions I ask my team is, what don't I know that I don't know? right? So like we all know what we know, but there's a lot of things we don't know, and that's what trips us up. Like let's call it blind spots, right? Because unless we have somebody has taught us that or somebody has shared it with us, we don't know that. So would you both mind coming back maybe in a few months or so, just to really go in depth and talk about the specifics, the nitty gritty details on, if you're a SaaS company or an e-commerce company, like what do I need to know? What do I need to watch out for? Would you be open to that?
Of course, yeah, we'd love to.
Of course, yeah.
As we bring this to a wrap, I want to ask Mike, what are your closing thoughts? You are a founder. You have the scars to prove it. It was not easy. You tried lots of things and you're here today, but that's because overnight success, 10 years in the making. What would you tell founders, perhaps new founders or early stage founders? They're still struggling and they're still like burning that, I'm sure you're still burning the midnight oil, but they're still like struggling. What would you tell them? Like, looking back, what are some of the lessons you would like to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of challenges that businesses face are at scale. And it's something I did not understand when Lior and I started. Like I did not understand that running a 20-person company is harder than 10, 30 is harder than 20, 50 is harder than 30, 100's harder than 50. And the implementation of process at scale is incredibly challenging, because if you don't evolve the entire business as you go through these inflection points of scale, you can crash your entire company. So there's two paths, I think, in business. You can choose to stay small, or you will have to, as you mentioned, go through the nicks, the bruises, and the scars of changing and adapting as you go through growth and scale. The advice I would give is you need a really strong foundation like a house. That's not just over accounting and finance, it's over all the core components that make up a great company. So you need legal, you need marketing, you need accounting and finance, and you need to be strong in the pillars. These are the pillars of the foundation of a business. You have to be strong in every pillar, meaning if marketing is not a core competency of yours, you call it Becwa. If accounting and finance is not a core competency, you call it Connect CPA. You need to be strong in those foundational layers, and you need to realize that you have to adapt as you grow. And we're still learning that as we go, Naren. But yeah, that would be my biggest takeaway, is really, really understanding that if you are choosing to go down that scaling path, you have to be ready to evolve. And if you don't want to go through that path, you must realize it early and stay small. Because if you do go down that path, it is going to be challenging no matter what. And being an entrepreneur is unforgiving. Like the market doesn't care that your business is challenging. Every business is challenging. And so you unfortunately have to adapt as you grow. And the further you grow, the more you have to adapt.
Thank you, Mike. Lior, your final thoughts as we wrap this up.
Yeah, to Mike's point, the scaling journey is hard, it's challenging, but just something I've learned along the way is that hard work will beat talent every single time. And so being gritty, persevering, never giving up, it's a really important trait. And eventually you can kind of crack the nut and get there, but hard work outweighs talent for sure.
And one other thing I want to mention, and it's probably obvious to everyone listening, partnerships typically don't work. You guys have been partners for 10 years and you have come through. So it's like a bonus tip. Like, what is any bonus advice you have anybody who have, like you guys, strong partners working together? Maybe Mike, give one tip, and Lior, one tip.
Don't go to bed angry. It's funny though. It's like marriage tips, right? But
Yeah.
it's kind of true. That's mine.
And just trust, having full trust in the other person to kind of have your back, have the team's back. And, I trust Mike with everything. And so it's never been an issue where I, think twice about something. And so trust is a very key component of every relationship.
And joking aside, like our core values align. And I think if you're going to business with a co-founder, you have to make sure your values are aligned. You're going to battle, you're going to fight, like you're going to go through things together. But yeah, if your values align, that's how I think you last over the long run.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Leo. I am a huge fan, as you both know, because I've seen how you continue to change, how you continue to evolve, which is, to me, the heart of an entrepreneur. It's like, it's being able to take those punches and still dream big, not giving up or, coming up with excuses or explanations as to why something cannot be done, but somehow finding a way through, whatever that way looks like, being open to new ideas, being open to change the way you think. And I've seen you both grow, evolve, and become amazing leaders. You run a large company with 100+ employees and a global workforce and unbelievable tech. So I'm really proud of both of you. So thank you for everything you do. And also I'm thankful because I'm your client. I appreciate what you do for me. And, you let me sleep at night, which is the way I think about accounting and finance. It's still a little bit more on the compliance side, but also on like having data so that I'm making wise decisions. So thank you for that. I also want to take a minute to thank our listeners. Our listeners, it's without you, we can't do any of this. So appreciate all of you. So till we meet again next week with another amazing TBR episode, your host, Naren Arul Raja. Have a wonderful week.